Thakur from Newburgh, who have taken so much of care and efforts to keep this going. Can you put your thing on mic, please? Otherwise, I won't be able to speak. Can everybody put their system on mute? Thank you. So as I was saying, I'd like to thank Maria, Aishwarya, and Krishna for all the efforts that they've taken. I'd also like to thank Sundar from my team and Cynthia from my team for arranging this with Newburgh. Now, I'm going to talk to you about diabetes and COVID-19. I've titled it as What Do We Know? Some parts of it may be a little technical, but I'll skip over those parts. So this is my disclaimer. There is a purely educational talk, and I'm not going to talk about any numbers of COVID and so on, because that you can get from ICMR and Ministry of Health. And the three things that I want to tell you right from the beginning and end also with that is, do not panic, stay calm, and behave responsibly. It's very important to have these 3 points, because more than the COVID-19, it is a panic which is killing people. Already people have committed suicides and all kinds of things are happening. People are frightened, they're getting psychotic, they're getting neurotic, they're getting depressed. And finally, they also behave irresponsibly, as it happened with one of my colleagues who was very much, unfortunately, he died, Dr. Simon Hercules, and he was the chairman of a very big hospital in Chennai, and they did not even allow, people did not even allow him to have a decent burial. Then the government and the police had to interfere, and the High Court had to interfere later on. So the first thing is, do not panic, stay calm, and behave responsibly. I'd like to thank the RSSDI for giving me some points in this talk. I'm going to start with this particular quote from Mr. Donald Rumsfeld, who on 12th February 2002, in his book Known and Unknown, a Memoir, Mr. Rumsfeld said, "There are some things which we know, and we know that we know. That is called as the known knowns. We know the time, we have the watch, we know the time, so we know that we know it, and so that we know our name, so we know that we know. There are certain things which are known unknowns." Okay, so if you ask me about Russian language and give me a sentence in that, I'll tell you, I don't know Russian, and I know that I don't know. So therefore, my ignorance I know well. So that is called as the known unknown. But then there's a third category of what is called as the unknown unknown. We don't know about it, but we don't know that we don't know about it. Okay, that is a more tricky situation, because suppose you talk about the galaxies and the Milky Way and the thing beyond that, and the beyond that, beyond that, beyond that, beyond that. There are so many things unknown which even we don't even know about. Okay, COVID-19 actually comes in this latter category. Here is an infection about which we didn't know anything. 3-4 months ago, people didn't even know what the name itself came only now. The virus, what it is, was discovered only now. How to treat it, how to prevent it, only now we are finding out. Okay, so it's an unknown unknown. It's very difficult to deal with an unknown unknown, and that's why all this panic and fear and everything. This is how I'm going to talk about it. Are people with diabetes more prone to COVID-19? Will they get a more serious form of the disease? What are the mechanisms by which a diabetic gets worse COVID-19? Some of the published studies, very briefly, I won't go into detail. I'll tell you what one or two of the guidelines say about diabetes, then talk about what precautions should be taken with people with diabetes. A word about hydroxychloroquine, because there's so much talked about this, and then finally end with some myths and realities, which will probably be useful to you. So the first question is, are people with diabetes more likely to get COVID-19? And the straight answer for that is probably not. Probably not, because to get this COVID-19, first you must be exposed to it, isn't it? So that's the first thing I want to tell people, because people think, I've got diabetes, I'm staying at home, I have no contact with anybody, still I may get COVID-19. How can you get COVID-19? You cannot get COVID-19 because you cannot, the COVID-19 is not going to come like a drone find you in your house when you're staying in your house. That is not going to happen. A diabetic patient can develop a urinary infection, can develop other forms of infection, but may not develop COVID-19. But the question is, suppose there's 100 people with diabetes here and 100 people without diabetes here, and somebody with COVID-19 infection is going to sneeze here and sneeze there, and then if these people get it without diabetes, people get it with diabetes, will the prognosis be worse? Will it become worse if you have diabetes? From China, at least, they have shown that those, if you look at those who had more serious complications, diabetic people seem to have that more. And we'll talk about that little more. Now, if you take usual respiratory infections, influenza, pneumonias, these are a little bit more common in people with diabetes. And when SARS came and MERS came, the two previous epidemics which came, it was definitely more in diabetic. The mortality was a little bit more in diabetic patients. What are the potential mechanisms by which people with diabetes may get a more severe form of the COVID-19? The first problem is age. Now, when we talk about diabetic patients getting it, we're not talking about young people or young children getting it. Usually people who have diabetes are above 40, 50, 60, 70 years of age. Age itself is one of the risk factors for COVID-19. So when you have diabetes in your older age group, that could be one of the reasons. Second thing is, people with diabetes also have heart disease, hypertension, and other things. They could have some respiratory problems. That also could increase their chances. Third is the sugar itself, and we'll talk about that. Then there are other immunological factors. What happens is that in our body, there is what is called as an innate immunity. That immunity varies from person to person. That is why some people will say, I've never got a cold in my life. I've never had a influenza in my life. There are some, their immunity is so strong. There are others who will say, every week I'm getting cold, every week I'm falling ill, every week I'm... So it all depends on the immunity. And I'm not going to technical details, but the viral clearance, the T cell immunity, all these are diminished in people with diabetes. That could be a reason why they are getting it more in a more severe form. So if you look at young people, they have very robust immune function. Whereas if you look at elderly people, they have a decline in the immune function. And that is the reason why older people are more prone to get it. So the next question, are people with diabetes more likely to develop more severe forms of COVID-19? And the answer for that is, if your diabetes is not controlled well, then yes, probably you may get a more severe form. However, if you get your diabetes under good control, you may not get a more severe form, because people whose diabetes is very well controlled, their immunity is just like people without diabetes. Now let us look at a few published studies. I'll just go through this fast. It's more for doctors, but just to tell you that if you look at the 6 studies published from China about COVID-19, they're all published very recently only, all within the last 2-3 months. If you look at the percentage of people with diabetes shown here in the various studies, it varies from 7% to 20%. So a lot of people with diabetes seem to be getting this COVID-19, okay? But the more important point is, if you look at those who had more severe forms of diabetes who are admitted to the ICU, then the prevalence of diabetes was much higher. And that is what is shown here. If you look at the critical group and the non-critical group, in the non-critical group, only 12% had diabetes. In the critical group, it is almost 21%. So definitely, if you have more severe cases of COVID, the diabetes seems to be higher. Again, if you do a multiple logistic regression, I'm not going to go into that. Diabetic people are almost 2 times more prone to get severe COVID-19. Now, this was a paper which is published in the New England Journal of Medicine. It's a big paper, almost 1,100 patients. And what they looked at was, if you look at the admission to an ICU, use of a mechanical ventilator, or death, 3 endpoints if you see. Among the non-severe patients, only about 6% had diabetes. Among the severe patients, almost 16% had. Again, if you look at the primary endpoint, as I said, admission ICU, death, or very severe one needing ventilation, then almost 27% of them were diabetic patients, whereas in the milder cases, it was only 6%. This is another study where they looked at 52 critically ill patients. This was published in the Lancet Respiratory Medicine. Again, if you look at survivors and non-survivors, among the survivors of COVID-19, only 10% had diabetes. Among those who died, 22% had diabetes, all showing that if you have diabetes and you're not controlled at all, then the chances of getting a severe COVID infection is more. And this is the last study I want to tell you. A very large study, 72,000 patients. And in all these patients, they looked at, again, what was the overall death in the total population. It was only 2%. In the diabetic population, it was 7%. But look at those who are above 80 years of age, almost 15% of them. So if you're very old and if you get COVID-19, and on top of that, you have diabetes also, it's not good news. So what should you do? You should prevent it. If you prevent it, not that all old people are going to get COVID, okay? So if you prevent it, then there is nothing to worry. So based on these three associations, the American Association of Clinical Endocrinology, it's called ACE, American Association of Clinical Endocrinology. They gave a statement on 18th of March. They said, diabetes and high glucose levels are associated with increased complication, respiratory failure, and mortality. Then we had the International Diabetes Federation. They said older people and people with pre-existing medical conditions are more likely to become severely ill. And if they get a viral infection, it is because the immune system is compromised and because of the elevated blood glucose. So again, telling you that if you control your diabetes well, then the virus may not thrive. Finally, the American Diabetes Association recently said that people with diabetes are not more likely to get COVID-19. They are not more likely to get, but if they get it, they can become more severe. And the risk is similar for type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Now, there was one study which came out, and I'm going to talk about this because many of you may be on these drugs called as ACE inhibitors and ARBs, given for hypertension, given for kidney disease, diabetic kidney nephropathy, for all that we give. They brought out a theory saying that this SARS virus, this is how the SARS virus looks. You know, the virus has several layers, and one of these layers is the protein called as the.
Wants to make money. I never.
Please put it on, yeah, mute. Okay. So the SARS virus has several proteins like this, and one protein is called as the spike protein. So this spike protein combines to a receptor called as the ACE2 receptor, and that's how it is entering into the cell. Now, those who take these drugs called as ACE inhibitors and ARBs, they have more of this ACE2. So there was a theory saying that those who have hypertension and taking these drugs, or you're diabetic and taking these drugs, you are more likely to get severe COVID-19. And I'm not going to go into this, but this has been kind of disputed by the American Heart Association, which said that all patients should continue to take their ACE inhibitors and ARBs. The European Society of Cardiology also said, yes, they should continue to take their medicines. Nobody should stop their medicines. Okay. Now, if you are having uncontrolled diabetes, we all know that the risk of developing a diabetic coma is more, especially in people with type 1 diabetes. So it's more important to keep your sugars under control so that you don't develop diabetic ketoacidosis. Why do these people with diabetes develop the severe form of COVID-19? The COVID-19 can enter into the body, but what will happen is, in those who you would have read in the paper saying 80% of people don't have any symptoms, they're very mild disease. That is because our immunity, this is the macrophages, the cells in the body, which can kill this virus, okay? But if the viral load is too much, or if your immunity is not good, then what will happen is, there is what is called as a cytokine storm. Suddenly, a lot of chemicals are released into your body. And this can go and damage the lungs, the heart, the kidney, the liver, and so on. And that is why multiple organ failure occurs. People have to be rushed to the hospital, ICU, ventilator. And so these are people who may not do so well. Now, are people with type 1 diabetes more prone? These are children with type 1 diabetes, and some adults who take 3-4 times insulin per day. There is no evidence that type 1 patients are more prone, because usually type 1 patients are much younger. So now coming to what should people with diabetes do to prevent COVID-19? First of all, Let's tell patients not to panic, because again, as I told you, panic is the worst thing. Then they have to practice the same principles for prevention. Social distancing. I would like to call this word as physical distancing rather than social distancing. We are not becoming antisocial. What we are saying is stay away from a person so that you don't catch the infection. So it's only called as physical distancing. And then frequent hand washing with soap and water. Why soap and water? Soap is able to smash that envelope of the virus. The virus has a coating on it, and that envelope is smashed the moment you put soap, and then the virus gets destroyed and it goes away with the soap and water. Wearing a mask is very, very important, especially if you're stepping out of your house. Don't go without the mask. If you are going to a clinic, a health facility or something, or if you have cough, fever or any of these symptoms, please wear a mask. And then every one of us has learned about this good respiratory etiquette, which means that instead of coughing like this and then getting all the germs on your hands, which will now go and touch somewhere else. So what we have learned after COVID-19 is do this. So when you do that, it goes into the elbow, which is not going to go and touch somewhere. And then if you've got some shirt or some dress, that dress, it doesn't stay very long. The virus will die quickly in the dress. And therefore, that is an etiquette that you can follow. What extra precaution should people with diabetes take? That everyone should take. What extra precaution people with diabetes take? First thing is control your diabetes well. Check your sugars often. Okay. So if you're going to a laboratory, Newberg can do it, we can do it. Many of the labs are opening, even though these times are difficult and it's difficult even to get staff. We are keeping all our centers and all that open only to serve all of you all. So getting a HbA1c done, getting your sugars done, all these are very important. And you yourself can check your sugar using your glucometer. Next is diet. You must eat healthy, include more vegetables, more fruit, and more protein. Cut down on carbohydrate, because all of us keep eating rice and then we keep eating a lot of chapatis. That will only increase the sugar. It will not get your sugar under control. Whereas if you take more vegetables and you take more fruit, then you will be able to control your diabetes better. Exercise regularly, because exercise helps to build immunity and helps to control your diabetes. Pranayama is very important because it improves the lung function and it also decreases your stress. Good nutrition practice, the following are the principles. Eat well, eat slowly, eat on time, eat right, and have complete balanced nutrition. Now we know that the immune function, everybody is talking about immune function, but there are certain things we cannot control. Genetics, age, hormonal status, all these things we cannot control. But all these we can control. A healthy diet, nutrition, cutting down on obesity, not smoking, cutting down on alcohol, doing exercise, reducing stress, and taking vaccination. What vaccination can we take? We don't have a vaccination against vaccine against corona, but COVID-19. But we can take influenza vaccination as well as pneumococcal vaccination, because these secondary lung infections are very common in people with diabetes. They may get COVID, but then they may get secondary pneumococcal infection. And so we have been doing a lot of these vaccinations to prevent secondary infections. You must remember that you need good nutrition. If you are not well nourished, your muscles will not be strong. You'll have weakness and you'll have fatigue. And these are the symptoms which people with COVID-19 also have. So you won't be able to tackle the infection if you get it, if you're not strong, if your nutrition is not good. Can all anti-diabetic drugs be continued? Yes. If there are no symptoms or mild symptoms, yes. But if you're having severe COVID-19, you're admitted to hospital, if your sugars are very high, if you are on in the inpatient, then better to start insulin. Now, these are some symptoms how to suspect COVID-19, because many of us have cold, flu quite commonly. Okay, I'll tell you one or two things which are common. Now, a running nose, you know that the running nose is very common. Now, that's very common in a common cold. You don't see that in coronavirus. You'll get more of throat infection. Okay, then cough is very common in coronavirus. It's not so common here. You will get very much weakness in coronavirus infection, COVID-19, which you don't get here. Most important is difficulty in breathing, because neither in cold nor in flu will you get difficulty in breathing. If you find that you're finding yourself difficult to breathe, then it's more likely that it's entered into the lungs and it could be coronavirus. If you have breathing difficulty, shortness of breath, persistent pain or pressure in the chest, confusion, bluish lips, or suppose your lips are becoming blue, that means you're not getting oxygen, you must rush to the hospital. This I won't go into. This is, at Newburgh, I'm sure they'll do all these tests and they'll be able to tell you if you have COVID, how bad it is, because based on these tests, we can say who is going to recover and who is not likely to recover. Of course, Newburgh is also one of the approved labs for doing the COVID testing itself. So if any of you have any doubts, that's a very good place to get it done. Now, about treatment, I'm not going to go into it. The only reason being that nothing is really known about the treatment. Every day, new things we are hearing. For example, hydroxychloroquine. I'll talk about this. This drug called remdesivir was claimed to be very good for this particular COVID-19. Only today we knew that a trial has been completed in China where it completely failed. So it didn't work at all. So like this, many drugs are being tried. You leave that to the doctors. The doctors will decide what is the best treatment for you to take. Should hydroxychloroquine be used by everybody? Now, ever since, hydroxychloroquine was, they said that it may be good, and we know about this drug, and India is one of the countries which makes maximum hydroxychloroquine. Everybody in India wants to use hydroxychloroquine. I wouldn't recommend it because we don't know, first of all, whether it will work correctly, number one. Number two, there are side effects. Definitely, you should not use it without a doctor telling you to use it. So what the Indian government says, ICMR says, is that if you are a doctor or a healthcare worker and you're dealing with suspected cases of COVID, you can use it. Or if one person in your house is proven to have COVID-19, you can use it. Even then, whether it will prevent, we're not sure. But these are the only two people who should use it. This I'll skip. This is more for doctors, when to use. Okay, I'm going to spend a little time on this. There are a lot of myths about COVID-19. Okay, some people say a hair dryer or a hand dryer is very effective in killing the virus. Actually, soap and water is more, or a alcohol-based sanitizer is probably better than a hand dryer. There is some things which come in the social media which says you just take a hair dryer and it will be hot and put it into your nose, the hot air, or into your mouth. All the virus will get killed. I wish it was so easy. Then there'll be no more COVID. Everybody can just have a hair dryer and it will be finished. No COVID will be there. Why are we so worried about COVID then? No, it doesn't die so quickly. Once it gets into the body, it will start spreading. So you can't kill it so easily. Okay. Similarly, a UV light cannot kill it. Just passing a UV light, it doesn't help. Okay. Can a scanner detect those virus? Scanner will only detect whether they have fever or not. It's not going to tell you COVID is there or not. Any fever, it will detect. Then there have been some people who have been, you must have heard about this. They sprayed alcohol or chlorine all over their house and all over the factory. The people there will die. The virus will not die, but all of us will die if you do all that. Okay. Then, can pets get it? So far, we have not heard of too many pets getting it, but they're also animals. They also have a lung. So if they're exposed to a virus, they may also get it. Do you have a vaccine against pneumonia? As I said, no, we don't have. Against COVID, we don't have. But against secondary pneumonia, pneumococcal vaccination, and influenza vaccinations are there. These can be taken by people with diabetes. And if you want that, if you contact me, I'll be happy to help you with that. Then, does rinsing the nose with saline help? No, it doesn't help at all. Does gargling the mouth using mouthwash protect? Even that does not protect, because it's going to go deep inside into the pharynx and into the throat and then into the lungs. Can eating garlic help? Well, not really, but there are foods which can help to build immunity. Turmeric, garlic, ginger, curcumin, seeds, various seeds. All these things help to build up immunity in your body. Okay. Vitamin D is very important. So if you're able to take vitamin D, that also build up. Vitamin C is supposed to help. Okay. Does putting sesame oil block the coronavirus? No, it does not kill. Does it affect older people or younger people? Definitely older people. That I've told you. Older people who have diabetes, heart disease, asthma, they are more prone. Can you give an antibiotic to kill it? No, although azithromycin has been tried along with hydroxychloroquine. Some people say it's good, some people say it's not good. Is there any specific medicine to prevent or treat the virus? No, there's no specific thing. Prevention is better than cure. So you see that you don't expose yourself, then you will be okay. I think this is my last but one slide. So reduce your risk of coronavirus infection by cleaning your hands with soap and water. You can wash with soap and water several times a day. When I was talking about this earlier, somebody asked me, I think in a TV show, somebody asked me, will I develop fungus infection because I'm washing my hands so many times? Obviously, when you wash your hands, you have to dry it also. You cannot leave it without drying it. Second thing is, soap always tends to dry your skin. So what you have to do is, if you're washing with soap and water several times, in the morning and night, or at least in the night before you go to bed, put some cream on your hand so that your hands remain soft. Otherwise, your hand will become very rough and will become very dry. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing and sneezing into a flexed elbow. Avoid contact with anyone who has cold or flu-like symptoms. Wear a mask before going out. Maintain physical distancing of at least a couple of meters. Don't go out as far as possible during the lockdown. And if you're eating meat, so that's another thing, that by taking non-veg will I get COVID-19. Nothing has been shown to prove that either chicken or fish or meat can produce COVID-19. However, cook the meat or whatever non-veg you're taking very well, and then you take it. Eggs, boil it and then take it. Avoid unprotected contact with live, wild or farm animals. We don't know who will be carrying bats and all that. There are some reports that bats in India also may have this. So therefore, avoid whatever animals you can avoid contact with, except domesticated animals you can keep things. So finally, I want to tell you that coronavirus, although it has affected the whole world, it's affected our economy, it's affected so many people, it's killed so many people. It's something which we definitely should not have got. It is something which we wish nobody gets. And I wish that none of you who is listening to this gets coronavirus. My prayers to you for that. But having said that, don't worry, because 80% of people, the chances of, first of all, getting it in India, if you think about it, a few thousand people only have got it. India's population is 1.3 billion. So if you see what percentage of people have got in India, it will be 0.000000000 something 1%. Somebody was saying that if you took, if you started doing, regularly now, if you started doing COVID testing for about 1 lakh of people every year, it will take us about 20-30 years to cover the whole population of India. That is how big India is. So within that, every day, due to diabetes, more than 20,000 people die. Only 20,000 people have got coronavirus in India, the whole country put together so far. That's the number of people who die every day due to diabetes in India. Okay, so nobody worries about that. TB kills many, many more people than coronavirus. Okay, and those are all not going to go away. Diabetes is not going to go away. TB is not going to go away. After a few months, there'll be no coronavirus. In India, it will completely go. In many countries, already gone. And in India also, in few months, it will not be there. So don't worry about coronavirus. It is a passing, it is a very severe form of infection which has come. Unfortunately, it has come all over the world. But don't worry about it. Nothing is going to happen to you. Stay safe, stay positive. Do pranayama, do meditation, pranayama, breathing, deep breathing. All that will improve your lung capacity and reduce your stress. Wherever possible, if you're a diabetic patient, even within the house, I'm sure we'll take it up in question time. You can do exercise even within the house, whatever you can take. You don't have to overeat now because you're not spending much calories. Eat less, take more protein, more green leafy vegetables, 1 or 2 fruits. If you do all that, you'll definitely build up your immunity. I'm going to leave you with this last slide. This has my email ID on it. If you want to take a picture of this, you can take. So that's our website and that's my email ID. If any of you want to write to me and ask further questions, I already saw 1 or 2 questions been sent to me. How do I contact you? I'm your old patient. I've lost touch with you. Please write to me. And if you just write to me in this, I will personally reply to you as far as possible. For those of you who want to learn more about diabetes prevention during these times, particularly related to COVID-19, I've recently only entered into social media. So now you can see my YouTube videos. If you just go to YouTube and type Dr. V. Mohan, you will get all my videos, about 33, 34 videos I've already produced. They are short videos, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, straight to the point. They will give you 1 or 2 lessons that you should learn, and it's very useful. Of course, the hospital also has either of these you can use. I'm also on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. So any of these, if you want, you can go. Particularly, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel, because I'm planning to introduce many, many more videos for the good of the public. I'm sitting at home now. I have more time now. Therefore, I'm doing this as a service to society. So I'm going to stop here. Once again, we'll take up questions and answers now. And I think they will be asking me a few questions, but I have already a few questions here. It's 5:35. So maybe for the next 10 minutes or so, I will take some questions. I had almost 154 people had sent in questions. It's unbelievable. And it's impossible to take all the questions. And as you can see, it's a very big list of things. When you open an Excel sheet like that, it's very difficult to find out who sent what. So it is very difficult. However, I'll still go through some. And some of them, see, these I've asked before you heard me. Now I have already given my talk. So many of these are already covered. How to remain safe from COVID, I've already mentioned that. Next person, I'm suffering from diabetes 40 years. Now I have well-controlled diabetes. You're well-controlled, your risk is very low. Okay, another person says, ஐயா 39 வருடமாக சுகர் இருக்கிறது, 3 வேளைக்கு இன்சுலின் போடுறேன், பட் ஆனா சுகர் வந்து 100 200 ரேஞ்சுக்கு வரமாட்டேங்குது, பரவாயில்லையா? பரவாயில்லைன்னு சொல்ல மாட்டேன். ஏன்னா சுகர் 39 வருஷமா இருக்குன்னா யூ மஸ்ட் பி இன் த ஓல்டர் ஏஜ் குரூப் ஆல்சோ. கண்டிப்பா நீங்க வந்து கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணிக்கணும். இன்சுலின் போட்டுட்டீங்கன்னா அந்த டோஸ் கொஞ்சம் அட்ஜஸ்ட் பண்ணிட்டா போதுமே, ஏன் சுகர் கண்ட்ரோல் வராது? கண்டிப்பா கண்ட்ரோல் வரும், வந்து பண்ணிக்கலாம். So how to keep sugar under control at this time? நான் சொன்னேன் டயட்டை பற்றி, எக்ஸசைஸ் பற்றி. We'll talk a little bit more about exercise. இன்சுலின் போடணுமா? இன்சுலின் வந்து கண்ட்ரோல்ல இருந்தா you need not take. கண்ட்ரோல் இல்லைன்னா then of course you might have to consider insulin. I have severe pain in my legs and hands. இது அப்படி வந்துன்னா நியூரோபத்தின்னு அர்த்தம். டயபெட்டிக் நியூரோபத்தினா சுகர் வந்து கண்ட்ரோல் இல்லைன்னு அர்த்தம். ஸோ அப்போ வந்து நீங்க வந்து கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணிக்கணும். சுகர் வந்து 145 ஃபாஸ்டிங், சம்டைம்ஸ் 200 போகுது, என்ன செய்யணும்? நல்லா கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணிக்கணும். உங்க டயட்டை பார்த்துங்கோ, எக்ஸசைஸ் பண்ணிங்கோ, ஸ்ட்ரெஸ்ஸை குறைங்கோ, மருந்து டோஸ் அட்ஜஸ்ட் பண்ணிட்டு கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணிக்கலாம். இஸ் தேர் எனி டெவலப்மெண்ட் விதவுட் இன்சுலின் ஃபார் டைப் 1? டைப் 1 டயபெட்டிஸ் சொல்றது இன்சுலின் டிபெண்டன்ட் டயபெட்டிஸ். இன்சுலின் போடலைன்னா உயிருக்கே ஆபத்து. அது இன்சுலின் இல்லாம இன்னும் வரல, ட்ரை பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம், ரிசர்ச்லாம் நடந்துட்டு இருக்கு. வாட் ப்ரிகாஷன் ஷுட் டேக்கன் டியூரிங் கோவிட் பீரியட்? அது நான் சொல்லிட்டேன். எனி சேஞ்ச் இன் மெடிசன், டயபெட்டிஸ், ஹார்ட் டிசீஸ் சேஞ்ச் பண்ண வேண்டியது இல்லை, உங்க யூஷுவல் மெடிசன்ஸை கண்டினியூ பண்ணிங்க. இஸ் ஜெனரிக் ட்ரக்ஸ் ரியலி எஃபெக்டிவ்? எஸ் அண்ட் நோ. சம் மெடிசன்ஸ் ஆர் ஓகே அண்ட் பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் த காஸ்ட் பீப்புள் லைக் இட். பட் சில ஜெனரிக்ஸ்க்கு வந்து குவாலிட்டியே இல்லை, அதனால ஏறதும் நான் பார்த்துருக்கேன். சுகர் பயங்கரமா ஏறி போறதும் நான் பார்த்துருக்கேன். வாட் ப்ரிகாஷன் டு டேக் சொல்லிட்டேன். ஹவு டு ரிமைன் சேஃப் ஃப்ரம் கோவிட் அது சொல்லிட்டேன். தென் அடுத்து வந்து if I'm unable to go to diabetologist, I'm unable to go, I have needle prick and burning sensation. Regular checkup is very important, because நீங்க ரெகுலர் செக்அப் வரலன்னா, அங்க ஒரு ஸ்டடி பண்ணோம். இந்த ஸ்டடியில் என்ன பண்ணோம்னா, எத்தனை பேர் வந்து ஒரு வருஷத்துல 3 தடவை 4 தடவை வர்றவங்க, those who come regularly for follow up, and then those who don't come regularly for follow up, வருஷத்துக்கு ஒரு தடவை தான் வராங்க, எல்லாம் வரதே இல்லை, 2 வருஷத்துக்கு வர்றாங்க. நாங்க பார்க்கும்போது 50% reduction in kidney and eye complication இருந்தது. இந்த வருஷத்துக்கு 3-4 தடவை வரும்போது 50% வந்து கிட்னி டிசீஸ் வந்து அவாய்ட் பண்ண முடியுது. அதனால ரெகுலர் செக்அப் இஸ் வெரி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட்.
Doctor, please talk about type 1 diabetes more, juvenile diabetes.
Yeah, because juvenile diabetes does not get COVID-19 that often, I didn't talk much about it. Type 1 diabetes is a type of diabetes where you need insulin injections throughout life, because there is no insulin production. The production of insulin is zero in people with type 1 diabetes. So when that is so, you have to inject yourself 3 to 4 times a day. Otherwise, you will not maintain good health, and it could be dangerous for life also. Of all the people with diabetes, only 1 to 2% have insulin dependent or type 1 diabetes. 95% is type 2, About 1 or 2 is other types of diabetes, genetic types and all that. And only 1 or 2 have type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes, you stop insulin, you can develop diabetic coma and you can die. Therefore, type 1 diabetics should never stop insulin. No other treatment will work for type 1 diabetes other than insulin. Not even our tablets will work. You have to take insulin injections. But if you take insulin injection properly, they can have a long and healthy life. I have had patients who developed type 1 diabetes when they're 1 year old, 2 year old. Today they're 75 years old and they're doing well. They become great grandfather and great grandmother. They're also doing well. So you don't have to worry. You can live your normal life even if you have type 1 diabetes. Insulin is better or tablet is better, which is good for type 2 diabetes. Both are good for each patient. For some patients, insulin is good. For some patients, tablet is good. We have to decide which is good. Treatment for long-standing diabetes, 25 years duration. I published a paper about 6 years ago. That was the first paper to show not 25 years. People who lived for 50 years with type 2 diabetes. That was the first paper in the world where we showed that people can live for up to 90 years of age, even up to 100 years of age, 50 years of diabetes, and still have no complications. I have hundreds of such patients. So it is possible to live even up to 100 years. You don't have to worry. Legs, many people are asking. Cancer and diabetic patients. You have cancer and diabetes. You have to treat both the cancer and diabetes. Some forms of, some diabetic patients are prone to more forms of cancer. But if you control your diabetes well, then it is okay. 71 years old, a PTCA. Should I continue my heart medicines? Yes, you should continue. How long metformin helps to control? Most tablets will work for about 10 to 15 years. After that, they may not work, but doesn't mean that if one drug stops working, you should stop it. You can continue the drug and add one more drug because each drug has its own benefit. So metformin, usually people take it lifelong. I was treated by you in 2003, would like a personal meeting with you. Please write to me and I'll be happy to fix it, fix the appointment for you. Diet, we talked about that. Okay, let me talk a little bit about exercise. Okay, a lot of people ask about exercise. Now, exercise, how to do exercise when you're in the lockdown period, you're inside the house, I cannot go out. How will I be able to do exercise? You can do a lot of exercises in the house itself. Number one, you can do skipping. You can do spot jogging. On the spot, you can just keep running. Okay. If you've got steps, up and down the steps, you can go. If you have a treadmill at home, you can do that. If you have a stationary cycle, you can do that. If you have a terrace, you can walk and do that. You can do ground exercises. You can do stretching exercises. You can do yoga. You can do pranayama, breathing. For all these, you don't need only 3 feet you need. You don't need any place at all. Where there is a will, there is a way. Okay. And today we have our cell phone. And in the cell phone, we can we get our steps, isn't it? You know, the 10,000 steps. So if you can, if you can do that, if you can just put the step count on and see that you get your 10,000 steps. If 10,000 is not possible, at least 6,000 or 7,000 you can do. Those who don't do any exercise, if they're sedentary, you won't even get 1,000 steps. 2,000 is very difficult. Above 2,000, without doing some exercise, you can never get. Of course, then you may say, if I'm doing all my housework, does that count? Of course it counts. If you're doing if you're sweeping, if you're cleaning, if you're cooking, if you're doing gardening, all that counts. Any step count is very important. So you build it in and then you can do that. About diet, I already told you. Take plenty of soups, salads, vegetables, green leafy vegetables. They will help to give you a lot of protein, fiber, and B12. All this you will get. Vitamin D, you will get in cheese. Egg yolk will give you vitamin D. Sunshine will give you vitamin D. So all these, it is possible for you to take. Okay. Then, I will straight away, okay, insulin, present contact number. How can I get treatment from thing? Okay, it's all the same. Foot is having burning sensation. I have no question. Thank you. Intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is good for something that we can't say it is not good. There is some truth in it because it helps to wash out all the toxins. So that way intermittent fasting is good. But in my opinion, small frequent feeds if you take is actually better. Can diabetes be reversed? Yes, it can be reversed if it's in the very early stages. There is a video that I've made in my YouTube. If you go, you can see that. Very early stages, you lose weight. If you reduce weight, you'll be able to reverse your diabetes. I think I'll stop here, Aishwarya. If you have some, or who's going to ask? Maria, you're going to ask questions?
Yeah.
Doctor,
Yeah. Go ahead. Go
doctor.
ahead. Ask.
Yeah, doctor. The thing is that I'm recently hearing from the market that B, C, D vitamins are vital role in the COVID-19 epidemic.
Yeah.
Can you please explain?
Vitamin D is definitely known to have a immunity levels, and most of us are deficient in vitamin D. So taking vitamin D, especially after doing a test, if they know that your vitamin D is low, then taking it, normally we give, if it's really low, we give 60,000 units as a sachet, small powder, once a week for about 4 weeks, and then 2,000 units every day as a small capsule. If you take that, your vitamin D will become normal. Vitamin C is very well known to prevent throat infection, colds, build up immunity. So taking vitamin C, saline, or any other drug 500 milligrams a day also helps. Vitamin E is little less accepted and little more controversial. You don't have to take that. Other B complex, you want to take a multivitamin or some vitamins, it is good. Zinc is supposed to be very good to build up immunity. So if you have some Bico zinc kind of a thing or some other zinc containing B complexes, if you take, that is also good. But the good point is, from
Zincovit also will work, sir.
Which one? Sorry, which one? Can you say it again?
Zincovit also will do.
Yeah, Zincovit. It contains zinc, no? So zinc is also good. So if you take zinc is also good. But then my point is, from vegetables, if you take, how do you know which vegetable contains which? Very complicated. Don't try to even remember it. Simple way to remember it, take different colors. Okay. Orange will contain carotenoids. Green will contain B12. Green will also contain fiber. White will contain something else. Some phytonutrients will be there in orange and red things. So if you take vegetables of different color, white, green, brinjal, which is violet or purple, red, which is beetroot, carrot, which is orange, yellow fruit, whatever you can get, all different colored vegetables you put on your plate. 2 or 3. So today you take 1 or 2, tomorrow you take another 1 or 2, then you take another 1 or 2. Like this, you're able to take, you'll get all the vitamins that you need. Very rarely you need vitamin supplements. But at this time, if you want to take, there's nothing wrong in that also. Okay. Maria, you want to ask some questions? Or?
Doctor, can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to get hold of a glucometer at home. So what would be the best brand? Because
there are a couple of ones. The Lifespan one is good. The Roche one is good. If you write to me, I can arrange for it to be sent to your place.
What about this AccuCheck?
AccuCheck is Roche.
Roche.
AccuCheck is
so
Roche.
I saw in the net that some were discontinued. So there is one instant.
So there are only 2 or 3 brands in India. So if you write to me to this email ID, I'll be happy to arrange, but not only to send it to you. Do you live in Chennai or? You're muted. You're muted.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm in Bangalore.
Bangalore. Even in Bangalore, we have a unit. We have 5 branches in Bangalore, so I can arrange for it to be sent to you. We have branches in Indiranagar, Malleshwaram, JP Nagar, Basavanagudi, and Whitefield.
By branch, you mean which doctor? It's your
Mohans.
Dr. Mohans.
You can see the name here. Yeah.
Okay.
Our branch of our center is there, and through that I can definitely arrange for it. If you write to me personally, I'll arrange it for you.
All right. So it will be a good one, and
it takes only 5 seconds, and it will give you a very good result.
So are you talking about AccuCheck or some other brand?
If you want AccuCheck, we can give you AccuCheck. There is also LifeScan is there. These 2 brands are the world leaders. They have between them, I think 80% of the glucometer in the world are these 2 companies.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Doctor, I have a question. Insulin actually increases the weight. The moment I started my insulin for the past 3 years, my weight is not coming down at all.
Correct.
So what is the alternate, sir? Should I go again?
So there are medicines which we can see. There are some medicines which increase the weight, and insulin is one which increases the weight. There's another drug called pioglitazone that also increases the weight. But there are medicines which decrease the weight. Metformin decreases the weight. SGLT2 drugs decrease the weight. And some are weight neutral, like the DPP4 inhibitors, they neither increase nor decrease. So of course, without seeing you, without knowing your history, I cannot prescribe anything. But if you know about it, if we know the thing, we can combine the insulin with some tablets which will neutralize that weight increase property. Once you cut down the dosage of insulin, your weight will not go up. Second is calories. If you take more vegetables, cut down carbs a little bit, your weight won't go up. Third is your exercise. If you're able to take a little more exercise, then you will not have any increase in weight. So yes, insulin is a hormone. It's an anabolic hormone. And for those who are underweight, it's excellent to increase your weight. But those who are overweight, if you're overweight, it means usually you're producing more insulin. So maybe you don't need insulin. There are tests that we do to find out whether insulin is needed or not. There's a test called T-peptide, by which we can see whether you actually need insulin or not. If you don't need insulin, switch you over to tablets also.
Good evening.
Good evening, doctor. Thanks for this session. So very informative. I just have one question.
Yeah.
So for type 2 diet, by diet and exercise without taking any tablets?
Can you control by diet and exercise, you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, about 5%. Out of 100 people, 5 will be able to control without diet and exercise. See, diabetes is a progressive condition. Diabetes, as you grow older, as your duration of diabetes keeps on increasing, your pancreas doesn't get stronger and stronger. It's going to get weaker and weaker. So after 5 years, what you have insulin in your body won't be the same after 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. So what will happen is the amount of insulin keep on going down the body. We don't have a medicine today to make that pancreas normal, to make it come back to normal, to make your age younger, all that we don't have. So chances are that unless you're in a very mild pre-diabetic stage, which can be controlled with diet and exercise alone, that alone may not be sufficient. But that doesn't mean that when you start the medicines, whether it's tablet or insulin, that the importance of diet and exercise goes away. Diet and exercise still remains the same. On top of that, when you're not able to control, then you add the tablet or insulin, different types of tablets, combinations, single tablet, double tablet, all depends on your, just like the 5 fingers are not the same. If you take 10 different diabetic patients, there'll be 10 different types. They're not all of the same type. So depending on, this is what is called as individualized medicine or precision medicine. So depending on your case, we'll be able to tell you which type of diabetes you have, which type of drug is best for you, whether you need drugs at all these things we'll be able to find out.
Hello, doctor.
I have one question.
Yeah.
People are talking about glucometers. So what is the percentage of errors? Some errors.
You're muted. You're muted. Yeah.
When people tell that you should not always measure your blood sugar level via glucometer. You have to go to the clinic and other things. Is there any percentage of error when we measure the blood sugar using a glucometer, doctor?
It is not the error part of it. See, the thing is, I always give the example. If I ask, I've noticed that there's still 115 people or something on this chat right now. If I ask all the 115 people who are listening to this, what is the time? Each person will give a different time. Now I'm saying it is, 8 minutes to 6. Somebody will say 3 minutes to 6. Somebody will say it's already 6. Somebody will say it's only 5:45. Some will say something. All are right and all are wrong. You got your watch is telling you something, you are managing. You're not saying how accurate is it, how this thing, how 1 minute, 20 seconds, it is different. You're not going to Indian Standard Time and all, you're not seeing. No. For us, we need to know the time to get to this, to listen to the lecture. We know that is how it is. Glucometer is meant for that. Glucometer, you're measuring with a quarter drop of blood. It's a quarter drop of blood. In a lab, you're drawing 5 ml of blood. There were 100 times more you're drawing in the lab. Naturally, and that you're running in a 50 lakh auto analyzer. This you're running in a 1,000 rupees machine. Okay, you cannot compare. Second is that what you're drawing here is from the capillary. Here you're drawing from the vein. Okay, here you're measuring blood sugar. There you're measuring plasma sugar. Okay, so it's a dry chemistry. This one, that is a wet chemistry. So dry chemistry, wet chemistry, less blood, more blood, whole blood, plasma, capillary and venous. At least 5 differences are there in the technology itself. How can you expect this and that to vary? It to be exactly the same. It will vary, but it should vary by only about 5 to 10%. If a good glucometer is well calibrated, instead of 100, it may show 90, it may show 110. Instead of 100, it shows 400. Then you should throw out the glucometer. You should not use it at all. It's meant to be in your house. Suddenly you feel giddy now. As I'm sitting now, let's say I'm a diabetic. I'm supposed to have eaten something, but now I came for this program. I forgot to eat. I've already taken insulin. Now my sugar is going down. I'm shivering. Immediately, it takes only 5 seconds. 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. By the time you count 5, you'll get the answer. Oh, it's only 40. My God, it's very low. Let me go and get something very sweet to drink. At that time when I test, I find it's 125. Oh, then it's not low sugar. That must be, I'm just tired. That's why it is. Okay. So you know the diagnosis. You without asking your doctor, you know the diagnosis. So why should you go to the lab? You got glucometer. Now I can do everything glucometer. No, you have to do so many things in a lab. You have to check your kidney function. You have to check your liver function. You have to check your 3 months control test. You have to check your lipid profile. You have to check your eyes. You have to check your feet. You have to check your nerves. You have to check once in a year, kidneys. All these have to be done. If you don't do that, simply glucometer, you keep checking, then first of all, your glucometer may go wrong because you may not have calibrated. You will be misled by that, number one. Number two is all the other things you're supposed to do, you're not doing. And that is where people make a mistake. That's why I said we published this paper where we showed that those who come 3 times a year or 4 times a year to a hospital, to a clinic, and those who don't come even once a year, we compared the 2 of them. And at the end of 10 years, those who don't come regularly, 50% more complications they had than those who are coming regularly. So we're able to prevent kidney disease. So if you look at the cost of that, so if you take kidney complication, you know that dialysis, how costly it is and how terrible it is. And also transplantation, where do you get the kidney from? You know, so these are all things like COVID-19. We must prevent all this. And to prevent this simple thing, keep your 3 months control under 7% HbA1c test. If you keep it under 7%, you will not get diabetic kidney disease, guaranteed. Okay, guaranteed. So the time when you're not coming to the center or to the lab, that is the time when you should be doing occasionally a test to see, is it in the range? Is it going low? That is the purpose of doing this. Okay.
Hello, doctor. My little one is diagnosed with type 1. I have 2 questions. One, what is the best age to put sensor for her? Because 10 months of like a type 1 diagnosed pannirkom.
How old is she?
She is 3.2.
They see the sensors are normally given for little older people.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean you should not use. I have put it, as long as she doesn't pull it out. You mean the sensor for 14-day sensor. That's what you mean, no? So,
doctor.
So for that, as long as she doesn't pull it out and you're able to tape it down, we can put a little plaster and tape it down on the arm. So if she doesn't pull it out, then we can even, we're taking a bath and all, you don't have to take it out. So for 2 weeks, it can be there and then you can get a very good reading. If it is difficult, she's not allowing you to put it and taking it out, then with the glucometer itself, you'll have to read morning, afternoon, evening. Because remember, the sensor gives you 100 readings in a day, which you cannot get by glucometer. Whatever you do, you cannot get. Sensor is giving you 100 readings in a day, 14 days, 1,400 readings. You can never get that with any glucometer. You may do 2 times, 3 times in a day. And each time you have to poke when you do that. Whereas in sensor, you know, we don't have to poke at all. So if it is possible, where do you live?
We live in Mylapore, Chennai.
Okay. If you write to us, we'll tell you, we can even get somebody to come home and put it for you.
Okay.
Just write to me to this email ID. Okay.
Hi, thank you so much. Maria, you there?
Maria, I want to take over. Any other questions? We have another 2-3 minutes.
Doctor, type 1, any advancements have come, doctor, apart from insulin? Can be expected in 2 years?
Have come, all kinds of pumps have come. Pumps with sensor has come. Pump without sensor has come. Artificial pancreas is coming. These are all things which have already come. But the other things like islet cell transplant, stem cells, these are all in the research stage. It will take some more time for it to come. But with these pumps, it becomes very easy. And children also go on pumps, especially in many European countries. Small children below 2 years of age are all given pumps. So pump is a very good idea to control if the sugars are going up and down. If you're able to control it with 1 or 2 or 3 insulins per day, then that is okay. You can write to me. I'll be happy to take that offline and talk to you. Okay.
So we will take few questions from the chat box. So Maria, can you ask few questions?
Yes, Maria.
So my advice is there's going to be many questions, doctor. So I'm sure you'll be here for the next many days if you're going to answer. What I'm recommending.
Maria, one or two you want to ask from the chat?
One or two questions from the chat. Maria, go ahead, please. Yeah.
There is a question on what is AGP. Is it better than a glucometer?
Just now I answered that. So AGP is an ambulatory glucose profile, AGP. It is using a sensor. It's like a small coin about this big. And what you do is it's like a small coin, you know, like a 50 paisa coin. So you stick it on the hand. That's what the lady just now asked for her child. So if you just stick it on that, it's painless. You can just stick it and then put a little tape on it. It will start sensing the sugar throughout the day and night. If you suppose I put it now, for the next 14 days, every blood sugar will be recorded in that. When I eat, when I this thing, even if I sleep, even if I have a bath also, I don't have to take it off. It will be there throughout. At the end of 2 weeks, you simply have to pull it out. It will come. Then if you scan it, you'll get the entire blood sugar like a graph going for every day by day by day, hour by hour by hour. You can get that. And so we kind of tend to use it now routinely for all patients who come to us who's newly diagnosed or we're changing the treatment. We use this AGP. We have used more than 25,000 patients we've used now, AGP. So it's very useful. There's no blood test needed. You don't have to poke. You don't have to do anything. And once I start a treatment, I'll know whether the treatment is working or not. So AGP is a very big advance. It has come about 3-4 years ago. Become very popular abroad. Everybody uses it. Here also we tend to use it in most of my patients. I put an AGP.
Doctor, the next question is on HbA1c.
Yeah.
For diabetics who have had diabetes for a very long time, what is the value that they should relate to? And for normal people, what is a good number for HbA1c?
A normal person who does not have diabetes, HbA1c will be below 5.6. It will be 5.3, 5.4. That means you don't have diabetes. If it crosses 5.6 and becomes 6, 6.2, 6.3, that is a pre-diabetic stage. Above 6.5, we say you have diabetes. In a diabetic patient, it can be even 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and all that. Some people have very high sugars. So we try to bring it down, and the normal value you should try for in a diabetic patient is 7. Although 5.6 is a normal non-diabetic value, some people can achieve that, but most people can't achieve it. So because they have started so high, 11, 12, 14. So if you bring it down below 7, why 7? Because many big studies in the world done in type 1 patients, type 2 patients have shown that if you keep your HbA1c at 7% or below, 3 complications you can definitely prevent. Eye complications, kidney complications, nerve complications. That's why I started by saying if you keep your HbA1c below 7, you can prevent kidney disease. To some extent, heart complications also you can prevent. But to treat heart and to prevent heart, you also have to control the cholesterol, blood pressure, stress, not smoke, do walking. For heart is a little bit more difficult. But for 3, for nerves, kidney, and eyes, just bringing the HbA1c down below 7%. And if you, in this AGP also, there's another metric about which I want to talk to you. 7% HbA1c, everybody knows. This AGP, a new metric has come called as TIR. What is TIR? It is time in range. What do you mean by time in range? During the 24 hours, what percentage of the day your sugar is under the normal value, which is say between 70 to 140. It shouldn't go below 70, shouldn't go above 140. In that range, what percentage of the day you're able to keep your sugars? 70% if you're able to get your time and range, TIR is 70%, then your HbA1c will be automatically below 7% and you will not develop any complications. So apart from the sugar value, which you know, fasting should be say between 80 to 120, postprandial, let's say 120 to 160 or 150, within that range, the HbA1c should be below 7%. Now TIR, time and range, has become the 4th parameter. Using an AGP, you should see that at least 70%. Some people even have 100% under control, but there are many who don't have even 20% under control. These are the people who will develop the complications of diabetes. So if you have not had an AGP, ask for an AGP and we'll be happy to give it to you.
Doctor, there's one question. It says in India with larger population working from home, Is there a chance of increase in pre-diabetics in adults who have a more sedentary lifestyle?
Yeah.
And in that case, is there a chance of being more susceptible to COVID-19 in adults with pre-diabetes?
Yeah, so adults with diabetes are more prone to COVID-19. Pre-diabetics, not yet, unless you have hypertension, cholesterol, overweight, all these things you have, then you also have a chance. But the good news about pre-diabetes is, number one, it is preventable. So if you have entered the pre-diabetes stage, we have done a very big intervention study we did, taking people in Chennai and making them walk. We did it in Bangalore also. And what we did was we gave them healthy diet and we made them exercise. What we found was complete reversal of the pre-diabetic stage. They became normal. Within 2 to 3 months, we were able to completely normalize them. So pre-diabetes is a condition which is reversible. If you don't watch out, people with pre-diabetes will develop diabetes soon. That is what we don't want them to develop. So good news for pre-diabetes is, yes, it is preventable. You can reverse back to normal just by doing diet, exercise, and stress reduction, and losing weight where necessary.
Okay, doctor. There's one more question.
Yeah.
Should ARB and ACE inhibitors be discontinued and substituted with other antihypertensive drugs, considering that it could increase chances of COVID?
I think I answered that. Probably the person didn't hear properly. I spent a lot of time on that, and I said that the ACE inhibitors and ARBs, it's only a theoretical hypothesis that was said that it may increase COVID. And all the associations in the world, the Heart Association, Hypertension Association, Diabetic Associations of all the countries, Europe, US, all have said, no, don't stop your ARB and ACE. Remember, COVID is there only for 2 or 3 weeks, and then it'll come, it'll go. Okay. Whereas the ACE and ARB, if you stop, it's usually given for hypertension. If you stop it, you may develop a stroke. It's also given for diabetic kidney disease. If you stop it, then by the time the COVID is over, your kidney will go. Then you're going to have more problem because your kidney is damaged. So don't stop your ARBs and ACE. This has been the recommendation by all the medical associations.
There is a question, doctor, if the sugar medicine scarcity will come in a few months. Given
actually, I had one slide on that from the American Diabetes Association, that it's very unlikely that the scarcity will come. So what you have to do is you have to keep enough stock. So because, for example, that lady said a child has got type 1 diabetes. What if she runs out of insulin? Finished. So you have to see, just like you keep water or food in your house, similarly, you must keep your medicines for at least 2 months stock you can keep. If you keep 2 months stock, then I think it is okay. Remember that even during the lockdown, even now this complete curfew is being introduced in Tamil Nadu for next 4 days. Even then, the pharmacies are kept open. Even then, the clinics and hospitals are kept open. Essential services are never stopped. So I don't think any pharmacy will close down. So far, we have not had any report of anti-diabetic drugs or anything going out of stock or anything like that. They may be temporary. One brand may not be available because the stock lorry didn't come from Bombay or from Ahmedabad or some other place. And so because the factory could not, the factory may be closed. So something like that. But keep enough stock. It's very unlikely. I think very soon we'll all get out of this COVID-19 situation.
Doctor, there's a question on fruits.
Yeah.
Can I eat fruits after 8 p.m.? What fruits are allowed for diabetic patients?
Yeah. Fruits with a lower GI, that is a glycemic index which is lower, can be taken. These fruits are apple, orange, guava, papaya. These are all fruits which contain lower GI, watermelon, and so on. There are some fruits which are very sweet, and those sweeter fruits, it's better that you avoid. Pineapple would come under that. Certain grapes would come under that. Sapota or chiku will come under that. And some of the jackfruit and mangoes will come under that. So it's better to avoid fruits which are extremely sweet and take other fruits which have a lower GI. 1 fruit or 2 fruits a day are allowed for people with diabetes after your sugar is under good control. Fruits also contain a lot of beneficial effects. So like vegetables, fruits also should be encouraged. If you don't have diabetes, you can take even 3, 4, 5 fruits a day. People with diabetes restrict to 1 or 2 fruits per day. Don't take fruit juice. Fruit juice is sweet and it won't give you the fiber. cut the fruit and take it as a fruit, then it is good.
Doctor, can I ask one question?
Yeah.
What can you say about this reactive hypoglycemia?
So reactive hypoglycemia is a condition where after you eat some food, suddenly after it will go up, sugar will go up a little bit, and then after 3 or 4 hours, it will start going down, and you start shivering around 12 o'clock before lunch or in the evening. Suddenly the sugars will start going low. It is to prevent that if you remember, somebody asked about intermittent fasting, and I said, no, it's better to take small, frequent feeds, a small breakfast, a mid-morning thing, again lunch, a small snack, and then again a dinner, and maybe a post-dinner having a glass of milk or something. If you take like that, small, frequent feeds, then reactive hypoglycemia usually will not be a problem. Reactive hypoglycemia usually comes in overweight people who are pre-diabetic and have a family history of diabetes. If they lose weight, normally it becomes okay. Or if they eat small, frequent feeds, it normally becomes okay.
Doctor, there's one question from Mr. Venkatraman.
Yeah.
That's a pin pricking like feeling on his feet.
Yeah.
And any medicine for the same? He is on type 2 metformin for the last 3 years.
Metformin, yeah. So I think about 8 or 10 people have asked me that, and I also answered it partly, but I'll again answer it. If you have pricking sensation in the feet, it means diabetic neuropathy. Diabetic neuropathy means the nerves are getting irritated due to sugar, and the lining of the nerves are affected. The blood circulation to the nerves are affected, and therefore this is called as diabetic neuropathy. Diabetic neuropathy, the best way to treat it or to prevent it is to control the diabetes well, because that is a root cause. Sugar is a root cause. Once you control the sugar, the neuropathy gets better. But then there are different medicines. There is methylcobalamin is very good. B12 is very good. Plus, there are other medicines like pregabalin or gabapentin, which are very specific for diabetic neuropathy, especially for burning feet. A doctor will be able to tell you, and for a short course, you're able to take it for 1 or 2 months, the neuropathy will go away. Any neuropathy which comes, it means that your sugar is not under control. So if you control your diabetes well, it should get better. Maria, I think it's 6:10 now.
Yeah,
so people may be getting a little tired also.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doctor.
So
I
maybe we'll
know
stop
that you have to be here forever if we start taking questions, but fear not, all of you, all of
No,
the
but that's why I've kept this email, and if anybody wants to, ask me any questions, you can definitely do it, and I promptly reply to the mails which you sent. And as I said, also go to my YouTube channel, subscribe to it, and watch my videos. Lots of them are there, very short videos, like 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes videos. They'll give you a power punch thing, which will give you one message, one question, and one answer. So like that, you can make use of that. Thank you, Maria, and thank you, everyone.
That's going to be very useful. Thank you so much, Dr. Mohan, for this very informative session. We really
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, all of you.
Can you mute, please?
Checkup, like Doctor asked. Just because we are in the lockdown, it doesn't mean that you ignore your health or postpone your regular checkups.
Yeah.
Please go ahead and ensure that you're being regular. Maria will send out communication to all. We are offering you free home collection so that you continue your treatment with proper reports. Having said that, thank you again, Dr. Mohan. I'm always indebted to you. All of you have a lovely evening. Stay home, stay safe, and please stay healthy.
Thank you to the whole team at Newburgh and to all the participants for participating. I hope we have more such sessions in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.